Since TikTok don't want to give me the option to have series, I'm gonna go ahead and make my own. I'm about to fill y'all in on everything that happened in my first marriage. Now, I do want to just quickly disclose that this series is not to harm anyone. This series is not to belittle anyone. This series is not to disrespect anyone. I just want to come on and share my story in regards to my first marriage. I just want to come on here and share my experience in my first marriage, my first messy divorce, and pray to God it's going to be my last messy divorce. I know that a lot of women go through divorce and it could be 10 times worse than what I went through. And this is just to shed some light on divorce and how to overcome, how to heal, and basically how to, navigate in life after divorce. But before we even get into all of that, I want to give y'all my story. I want to share with y'all the story that led to the divorce. Okay. A lot of women don't necessarily share their stories, but for me, I feel like this is also a part of the healing journey. Even though I have healed from the hurt, I just want to come on here to support other women that has went through divorce, that are going through divorce, and that have experienced the same thing that I have experienced during my separation and divorce process. So stay tuned because it's going to be multiple parts of this series in regards to how my marriage led to divorce. Bye. So when I first got married, I was 2 years older than my husband, and we were young. We did make some crazy decisions at our young age, and marriage was something that he ultimately wanted. Now, I do want to just quickly disclose that this series is not to harm anyone. This series is not to belittle anyone. This series is not to disrespect anyone. I just want to come on and share my story in regards to my first marriage. I always talked about how he wanted to have his own family, how he wanted to have kids, how he wanted to just be more family oriented because his family wasn't as family oriented, and basically his family was separated. When I say separated, I mean like his mom and dad wasn't together. They basically raised them separately. And before anything, me and his sisters were good friends. Like, she was like literally my best friend. And that's how I, of course, met my husband. But he was my friend's brother at the time, and I didn't think of him I didn't look at him in any kind of way because I felt like he was just too young and he wasn't really my type, blah, 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 All throughout high school, he basically expressed interest in me, and I was just like, no, you're my friend's brother. I can't do that, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, I ended up graduating. I ended up getting pregnant as well, but not by him. It was by my first child's dad. And so that ended up happening, and I want to say maybe roughly about a year after I had him, he come messaging me on Facebook. Fast forward, so he was in my DMs, and he was just basically complimenting me, like, oh, you're so beautiful, I see you had a child, congratulations on your child, blah, 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 are you with the baby daddy? I'm like, no, nothing didn't work out. So he instantly try to shoot his shot, and I'm just like, maybe I should. We're grown. Maybe I should try. Maybe I should give him a chance. And he was just telling me like how he had moved to Florida, that he's in college, that he's staying with his mom at the time, and that he was going to be coming down. But before he had even came down, he was just telling me, like, oh, he can't wait to see me. He hoped that I'm giving him a chance, So boom, he come down for the holiday. He came, so we ended up going out. We went out, we chilled it or whatever. He stayed at my house pretty much majority of the whole time that he was supposed to be down hanging out with his family. So boom, he was immediately introduced to my family, my son, only because I already knew his sister, and only because I was just like, okay, he cool people, so why not? So introduced to the family, introduced to my son. he fell in love with my son fell in love with him. And so during that time, my baby daddy, he wasn't really like in my son's life like that. So my husband at the time, he basically came in and he was just like a father figure to him, and he loved him. He bought him stuff. He was there for him. He treated him like his first child. And I fell in love with that. Not to mention, so before he did all of this, I told y'all like he was staying in Florida during that time frame. He came down to visit. And so when he came down to visit and he decided that he wanted to stay, remind y'all, he was in college. He wanted to stay with me and, you know, basically start a family. And I'm just like, no, you need to go back home. You need to go finish school, or maybe finish this semester or finish this year out. And, you know, then you come back. He didn't want to do that. He had a round trip to go back home, and I was his ride back to the airport. He did not want to go back. He wanted to stay. He wanted to be with me. He wanted to be down back closer to his sisters and his dad and everybody. His mom was the person that he was staying with in Florida. He had made the decision to go ahead and not go back home. And I'm just like, you have to let her know. Like, you have to let her know that you're not going back home, that you've already missed your flight at this point, and that you made a decision to stay out here. Like, you have to let her know. He didn't want to tell her, but I talked him into telling her. Just like, oh my God, like, you're about to literally give up your whole entire life right now just to be out here with us. And I'm just like, you shouldn't do it. But he ended up doing it anyway. So I'm just like, okay, my hands are tied. I can't force you to go back. You're a grown man. Like, you know what you're doing. Of course, he ended up telling his mom. She was not happy. I'm sure I was probably every bitch in the world. And I was just like, okay, it's not me, it's him. So that ended up happening. Make a long story short, he ended up making his decisions, and we moved in together. Well, he moved in with me. I told him he should be enrolling back into some classes so that way he can finish his career. He, at the time, did not want to. I guess he felt like college was basically forced on him for whatever odd reason. And I'm just like, okay, so like, what is your plan? Like, what is your plan? So, boom, we found him a job. I got him a job where I was working at a while back. And he started working. We started basically doing things together. We moved from my 1-bedroom apartment to a 2-bedroom apartment because we didn't need much space. So this is probably maybe like 8 months down the line after he decided to stay with me in California versus going back to Florida. Yeah, so we had a little family together, and he eventually started talking about how he wanted to join the military. He seen that my cousins were in the military. He seen that I had a few cousins in the military, and he was just like, okay, cool. I may want to go ahead and venture off and go to the military. Like, why not? He ended up joining the military, and he proposed to me, and we got married. So he goes to basic training and everything, and I find out I'm pregnant. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to be pregnant while this man is gone. I literally did my whole pregnancy while he was gone through basic training and everything. It's crazy because during that time frame, me and his sister low-key kind of had like fell out. We had stopped talking for whatever reason. I don't know. I guess like when you grow older, you just do your own thing in life and you just grow from each other, you know? So when they found out I was pregnant, the family was just like, oh, it gotta be her baby daddy's. I seen her with her baby daddy. Like, I was never really around my baby daddy after me and him had got together. So they swore up and down the child wasn't his. And that's when all hell broke loose. I should have known, like, right then and there, like, damn, you are really getting yourself into some drama. So I ended up stopped talking to all of them in general. Like, I just really stopped talking to them. And so that happened. he ended up finishing out training or whatever. He came home. He came home literally right in time for me to give birth to our first child together, because I already had a first child before him, but our first child together. So after I gave birth, I had my second son. He had orders to move to Fort Bliss, Texas. So after I gave birth, I had my second son. He had orders to move to Fort Bliss, Texas, and that's El Paso, Texas, for those of you that don't know. We moved there, I want to say roughly about 3 weeks after I gave birth. The movers came. They moved all of our stuff to our new house. So, well, it was like a townhouse. And we drove to Texas. Everything seemed really good when we first got there. Besides like the sleepless nights, me having to wake up all the time with our child. Besides all of that, I feel like we were okay. So my child was maybe about, I want to say maybe 4 months. And I started feeling like, I don't know, maybe I was feeling like postpartum depression, because I was just like, I'm ready to go home, because I was literally doing everything by myself, waking up by myself, feeding him by myself. And then I was just like, look, you're gonna have to start helping. Like, I get that you gotta go to work, but you're gonna have to start waking up with him, because I'm tired. Yeah, I wanted to go home, really. I felt like I was like going through postpartum. I was literally a mom. I was a wife. I did everything. I cooked. I cleaned. Every time he came home, he had a home cooked meal. If not, if it wasn't a home cooked meal, we had dinner on the table, or breakfast on the table, or whatever he needed, lunch on the table, whatever. Mind you, at this time, I was a stay-at-home mom because I just had a child, and plus, he asked me to be a stay-at-home mom. Let's not forget all of this. Oh, I'm leaving out. I feel like I'm leaving out so many details. He joined the military. He told me that he didn't want me to work anymore because I was working. I was going to school. I literally had everything that I worked for. I stopped doing it. So yeah, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm taking care of home, taking care of the kids, taking care of myself, taking care of him, taking care of everything. Ooh, I should have known what I signed up for, y'all. So I'm gonna say roughly about, maybe 6 to 7 months down the line. That's when I seen like he was starting to be in his phone a lot more, texting a lot more. I just felt like a little off, because it was just like the energy wasn't there, like the spark wasn't there anymore. So I felt the need to go through his phone, women's intuition. I felt the need to go through his phone. That's when I found out that he was talking to another girl. This girl, she was from our hometown, and if y'all seen the video previous, that's when I found out he was like talking to other girls. So boom, I catch him. I see that he was, talking to this girl that stayed in Georgia, but she was from our hometown. I want to say roughly about a month later, he ended up having to go to Georgia for a field training, like a field day training or whatever. And he stayed gone for roughly about, I want to say maybe a month. I don't know. I can't really remember. But when he came back, he was still a little off. Like, he was still like, wasn't really, I don't know. It just seemed like the whole energy between me and him was just different. So, of course, me being the woman that I was, I went through the phone again. That same girl I caught him talking to that first time. So, yeah, that's the girl that I was talking about in my first video when I started conversating about my past relationship. Boom, he was just like, I'm gonna send you some money. Me and my mom, we're gonna be at this hotel together. She's gonna be driving down from Florida down here to Georgia. Maybe we should all get together. I'll send you the money if you need it. Like, just like, what? Like, you have a whole woman at home, a whole wife at home, a whole child, a whole 2 children at home. Like, but you're talking about bringing this girl to visit you and your mom? So I was like, okay, let me talk about it. We talked about it. Of course, we worked through that. Boom, we back normal. So stay tuned, because it's going to be multiple parts of this series in regards to how my marriage led to divorce. Bye. Okay, so we get back on good terms. I ended up staying. I ended up getting more involved with like the military base, the women that's military wives. I even started like a girls' date or girls' night out with a lot of the wives that I had met over the time frame. And you know, I was just staying busy going out with the girls on the free time that I had. And I also started going to school. And I was working towards getting me a certificate with medical assistant and billing and coding. Remind y'all, I wasn't working because he asked me to be a stay-at-home wife. So basically just make sure the house is good, you know, doing what a stay-at-home wife would do. Taking care of the kids, taking care of my man, taking care of bills, paying all the bills, you know, working through everything that he really needed me to do. So I did all of that. I also started like a Facebook group for military wives that wanted to, you know, become friends and get more familiar with the base. And I was like, okay, since I'm not working, maybe I could just start helping the wives out around the community. Like I could babysit for them for like the military ball, or if they had date night, if they wanted a babysitter, you know, cool. I'll start doing all of that, you know, just to support and to bring in a little extra money. So I met a lot of cool people by babysitting and with my girls' night out group, and just overall got to know a lot of the women in Fort Bliss, Texas. He did have some wild friends, and they did do some wild things at certain times, and I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna let you do you, I'm gonna do me. I'm not cheating, but I don't know what you got going on. I'm gonna just let you be a man, you know. There was this one time when him and his friends had went out. I don't know how many other times he did it, but there was this one time that I caught on to him. Basically, they went out one night and he told me that they were like going to the bar, you know, going to chill or whatever. And so the next morning he got home real late. He got home super late, like late. He came home or whatever the next morning. I'm going through our bank account because I have access to our bank, and I see like a withdrawal. I can't remember exactly how much it was. I want to say it was like a couple of $100s. And I'm just like, what you pulling out money for in the middle of the night? Like, you know, like that was like alarming to me. Like usually when he goes to the bar, he'll use his card. He don't have to pull out money or whatever, you know. But I mean, this one time I guess he needed the money. So make a long story short, I ended up finding out that he went to a strip club, y'all. And there was a couple withdrawals at the strip club too. And I'm just like, okay, you went out to the strip club with your guys. You could have been very open with me. Like, I would have been okay, like, with you going to the strip club, you know. Just be open with me. Like, communicate with me that you're going to the strip club. Don't sit up and lie in my face. So that's when all the lying started. In the military, I don't know if you guys know, but being in the military, I think they don't pay the soldiers much of anything to survive. Like, we were surviving, we were living to live, you know. Like, we wasn't like, oh, we got all this amount of money. So we basically were living check to check. We had our bills, we had our cars, we had, you know, regular normal life bills. So of course, me being a wife, I did get mad because you pulled out all this money to go to the strip club knowing that we got stuff to pay, or knowing we got stuff that we need to take care of. We gotta buy our own grocery, like, you know, like, we have to pay for these things. We don't get to have like government assistance besides what the military give us, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's, they give us money to go buy our food or whatever. And I'm just like, okay, whatever, we'll get through it, whatever. So I started babysitting or whatever. I make money. I was making the money. I would buy grocery. I would do pretty much everything that I was supposed to do when I get money. So that was that. We get through all the arguing. We get through all the BS. We never like argued in front of our kids. If we talked about something, we would literally talk about it, or I'll make sure that my kids were in the other room or somewhere, you know. They would never experience like us arguing. So of course, you know, I'm still being a wife or whatever, and a couple of years down the line, we decided to buy a house, brand new build, a 3-bedroom, 2-story home. So we moved into our brand new home, and I finally got my certificate for medical assisting and billing and coding. Ooh, praise God, because it was a long road. Okay, so we just bought a house. I feel like I maybe should go get a job, you know, so I could, you know, take care of bills. But then we ran into an issue with childcare. I didn't want to put my kids in daycare because I heard so many horrible things about the daycares on the base, and I'm just like, I don't want to put my kids in daycare. So make a long story short, I did put my kids in daycare, and boom, my baby gets sick. My baby was hospitalized. He was diagnosed with RSV, and he was hospitalized for a couple of weeks. So I'm like, oh my God, I can't go to work, and I'm not putting my babies back in daycare. And during that time, they kept getting sick. They kept getting strep throat. They kept getting like all type of weird shit, like hand, foot, mouth. Like they were getting all type of nasty viruses, and I'm just like, I can't do this. And after that scare, I was so scared. I took my babies out of daycare. So I was like, okay, back to being a stay-at-home mom. Let me figure out what else I can do to make more money. So I started back babysitting. So okay, the grandmother called, never had a relationship with his grandmother or his mom, being that I feel like they hated me from when he ended up coming down to our hometown to live and decided to stay. So I then enrolled back into some classes at the community college out there, and I started doing some more classes, you know, just like my prerequisites or whatever, just so I could stay busy. And we get a call from his grandmother. I never had a relationship with his grandmother or his mom, being that I feel like they hated me from when he ended up coming down to our hometown to live and decided to stay. So his mom, we never really had like a good relationship like that. She did come down when he was first born, and when we first had moved to Texas, she had came down to help out with him for a little bit, and then she basically had went back to Florida. So from what my husband had told me at the time was that like him and his grandmother did not have a good relationship. Like she basically had put them out a couple of times when the mom and him was staying with her, and like they just didn't have a good relationship. He was just telling me how like how evil she was. And so boom, we get the call from her, and she seems so sweet, y'all. Like when I tell you, the lady seemed so sweet. She asked about the kids. She wanted to get to know the kids. And then that happened. So we get a call from her, and this call was out of nowhere, getting to know me and stuff. And she was just like, you know, I know you guys are probably needing help with the baby because my son had got sick or whatever. And she was like, I think it'll be helpful for me to move down there with you guys and, you know, basically help y'all out with the kids and maybe help out on some bills when needed. And she was just telling me like how she's lonely and how she wants to be around the family because she don't really be around the family out where she's at in Florida, because her kids are basically split up. She got her daughter in Florida and her son in our hometown. And so I was like, okay, yeah, like, I mean, I don't see why not. So I ran it by my husband, and we spoke about it, and he was just like, no, queen, because that's what he called me. He was like, no, queen, we cannot, no, you do not want to live with her. I remember it to this day, and Lord, should I have listened to him at that point in time. But me being the nice person, I don't really know this lady from a can of paint besides what he had told me about her. And I'm like, okay, well, your grandmother, she seems like she really wants to be around the family, and she is old, you know, and I feel like it'll be very helpful for us to have a babysitter in the house and maybe help out with some bills sometime when we need help, you know. Like, I think it'll be a good idea. Just think about it. So he thought about it. So I kind of like kept asking him, like, why you don't want your grandmother to come stay? Like you would let my grandma come stay with us, like, cause my grandmother did come stay with us the first year that we stayed in, the first year that we had moved to Fort Bliss. She stayed with us, her and my grandpa. And so we had that conversation, and I kept asking him, like, you might as well just let her come. Like, I need the help. Even though you gone, I feel like I need the help. You know what I'm saying? So I basically ended up talking him into letting his grandmother come live with us. I remember it like it was yesterday. She got in town in our new house just in time for Thanksgiving. Maybe a few days, or maybe, I think it was maybe like a week before Thanksgiving. And she always talked about how she wanted to make her cornbread stuffing for us. So we had Thanksgiving, our first year in our new home, with his grandmother. And I want to say my family did come down. My family did come down, because I remember my grandmother basically talking mess. But yeah, so that happened, and she ended up coming down. She ended up moving in with us. She drove all the way from Florida to Texas. My husband used to tell me stories about how he was being treated different from his brother on his mom's side. And I'm just like, why would she treat y'all any different? And I'm guessing because the grandmother didn't like his dad. And they basically got, his mom basically got pregnant without being married. Whatever. She's like a Christian lady. So he would tell me these types of stories, just all kind of stories about her and just like the family in general. But her stuck out the most. And I'm just like, damn, this little old lady acting like this? I'm like, okay, if she anything like my grandmother, then I can only imagine. But we ended up letting her come live with us. Whatever. We opened our home. Mind y'all, I have one child that is not his. One child before I even got married, before I even thought about this man. And so this lady, when I say she came down and all hell broke loose, that's exactly what happened. It broke loose real bad. I felt like me and my husband were on great terms before she came down. Like, we had worked through all the BS. We had worked through all the infidelity. We had worked through all the texting the other girls and all the extra shit, you know. We worked through that, and we were back on good terms. At least I thought. I was noticing how he explained to me how he was being treated differently from his brother. So when I say, I kid y'all not, this lady was treating my son different from her grandson. So I instantly talked to my husband about it. I feel like she is treating them differently. Like, I could see that. And so he instantly brought it up to her, and he basically was just like, Grandma, you know, what's going on? Like, I feel like you are showing more love towards him than him. And I guess she like confirmed, like, no, that's not that. He's just older, and I want to be the grandma to him, and like, you know, cover up, big old cover up. So there was a time when this lady had baked her famous caramel cake, and she baked a cake, and my oldest son wanted some cake, and she basically had, I can't remember exactly what happened, but she basically had told him that he couldn't get any cake. Oh, that's what happened. He couldn't get any cake because he ended up sticking a freaking crayon in his ear, and we ended up having to go to the hospital to try to like get the crayon out. And I'm just like, these kids, like, what the hell? So he stuck the crayon in his ear, and that day she had made a cake, And so when we got back home from the hospital, remind you, my son was terrified. My oldest son was terrified because he stuck the crayon in his ear. And they basically had to get it out and spray water in his ear to get it out. Basically, it took forever. So we get home, a long day at the hospital, and so when we went to the hospital, we left our youngest son there with her. And so by the time we got there, the cake was done, and my youngest son was already eating cake. He already done had some cake or whatever. And so my oldest son gets to the house, and she was like, "You can't have any cake because you stuck the crayon in your ear." And I'm just like, what? What? Like, what that got to do with him eating some cake? So that kind of like rubbed me the wrong way. So what really rubbed me the wrong way was she gave my youngest son some cake while my oldest son was sitting there watching him eat the cake. So I said, you are not about to tell my son that he cannot have any of this damn cake. I said, it's just fucking cake. I'm going to give him some. So, and to remind y'all, this is all in my house. So I tell her, like, I'm about to get him some motherfucking cake because, and I'm not cussing at her, but I'm just like, this is in my head because the way I really wanted to say it was going to be very disrespectful. So I said, no, he's going to get some cake. I'm going to go ahead and cut him a piece. He can have some cake. So I sat him down at the table, and she get a little attitude. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, I don't care. So my husband, I went upstairs and I talked to him about it. And I'm just like, why your grandma gonna tell him that he can't have no cake because he stuck the freaking crayon in his ear? Like, and then to top it off, gave it to our youngest son in front of him. Like, you're not about to do that in front of me. So boom, that was the first time she tried to, the second time she tried to like play with me about my son. So all of that happened. She low-key got a little attitude, went to her room in my house, and literally was just up there and was just like, he can't have any more cake. Girl, my son get whatever the fuck he want when the fuck he wants it, okay? Especially if it's in my house, okay? And I don't give a damn if you did buy it. So yeah, that was the whole issue. That's what caused the whole issue the first time. So that had happened, and me and my husband decided to go ahead and try for another child. He was like, basically, we done bought this new house, we got all these rooms, we might as well fill them up. And I'm just like, okay. So we agreed to try for another child, and we desperately wanted a little girl to complete our family. Okay, so boom, me and my man, we went ahead and we started trying for our little girl in our new home. And I felt like everything was going to be okay. Everything was back to normal. Everything was how it was. We was going out like on little dates, date nights. Everything was cool. We finally had some understanding, at least I thought, in regards to how we supposed to move in our relationship. So we found a church and we started going to church. We all started going to church, and it was like a great experience for all of us. I ran into some new people, some like-minded people, and I was happy. Then, as you guys know, I started, like, back babysitting, and I also started babysitting for some of the people that was going to church with us. And that's when I met a good friend of mine. So we would like go hang out at her house on the weekends, take the kids to go swim. We take the kids on cute little outings and, just do family oriented stuff with like-minded people. We were going to church pretty much every Sunday. We got introduced to a new church home with my friend, and we just really got to know God a little bit more. So, of course, the grandmother is still staying with us. So I introduced her to my good friend and they became friends. And we all used to just be together, go out to eat, hang out together. So a lot of my husband's friends at the time, they were in transition to moving to another station. And so basically he had lost a good amount of friends that were like a negative influence on him. And so they basically moved and it was just basically him staying at home, playing the video games or just, just chilling. Like I just felt like I was being the leader of the household. And honestly, I felt like I was leading throughout my whole marriage as well, because there was some cases to where I literally would have to, let's just say for an example, I'm going to use an example. Let's just say we go into a dealership and we're trying to buy a car. I felt like I noticed that these traits that my husband had carried was not manly. Like I felt like I was the man of the household. And yeah, I just felt like I was negotiating with the dealership on prices on my car, my new car that I was getting ready to buy. I felt like I was the one that always communicated when it came to business, when it came to money, when it came to negotiating, came to business, and every last thing. I felt like I was the person that spoke. And I feel like this could have been because like he never was in like a real relationship. Like I felt like I was his first real full-fledged relationship. I feel like he didn't know the husband aspect. He really didn't know. I feel like he just didn't know how to communicate with other men in regards to negotiating on prices or how to navigate with like finances and stuff like that. I just feel like that literacy was not there for him. And I felt like I was the one taking charge and leading the household when it came to bills, when it came to anything business related. Yeah, like I felt like I was the leader. So when I seen that dominant side of me, I felt like, okay, I'm running a motherfucking household. Like I feel like I'm the one that's running shit. Like I do every fucking thing. I feel like I'm the man of the house and I'm not. I want to be the woman. But I just felt like my femininity was not there. Like I felt like I was the one that was in control over everything. And as bad as this may sound, as bad as it may sound, I felt very bad for feeling like I can control shit in my household. And I don't know if it was because I was pregnant or because I'm just like that bossy leader woman. Like I just feel like it takes a strong-minded man to deal with me. And sadly, my husband at the time, he was not it. He wasn't it. And I'm just like, damn. Why did I really marry him? We're going to take a break from that real quick because I got to regroup. If you are interested in buying this hair, go ahead and click the link below. This hair is so bomb. It's so natural for me, and I just love how I can do the natural look. Up here, this is all my hair. Back here, this is all a sew-in. So I have half up, half down, and this hair is some really good hair. It's like a water wave, so if you wet it, baby, you'll be looking like a Puerto Rican. Go ahead and grab y'all's, okay? Click the link below. But yeah, back on track. So yeah, I feel like I was the leader of the household, and my mouth could have been a little out of control at times. I could have probably said some things to make him feel less than, and I'm sure I probably did, and I feel bad, and I apologize to him when we did separate. Like, if I said anything to belittle you or hurt you, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry. Even though I was the wife and the stay-at-home mom, I felt like I was in charge. I felt like I was his mom. And in that case, I feel like I lost respect for him in a certain, like, in a way, you know. And then I also got to thinking, like, damn, all this cheating, all this talking to other women, I just felt like, the fuck, like, I don't have to be with you. I can go find another man to be with, and I'm gonna be happier, because that man is probably gonna know how to lead a little bit better than you. Like, when it came down to talking to men about certain things as far as like business, I didn't want to have to talk. I didn't want to have to speak. I didn't want to have to say anything but sit there and look cute. And I couldn't. I had a full-blown man right next to me that could not speak on my behalf. That right there was a whole issue for me. I basically just started letting him do the things that I feel like a man should do. Like, when it came down to talking to other men, when it came down to talking business, when it came to buying our house, when it came to buying our car, when it came down to doing all of that, I just let him lead. I just let him do what he do. Of course, we came out with a fucked up interest rate. Of course, we came out with a higher payment. Of course, we came upside down on a lot of things. But I was just like, I'm gonna let you go ahead and do what you do. There was this one time my husband had, let me know. He was just like, babe, this girl is hitting me up and she's telling me that I could, that she could flip some money for me, and basically we can have more money than what we have now. And so, like I was telling y'all, I was letting him lead, right? I was letting him lead the household. I was letting him take care of the finances. I was letting him talk business. I was letting him do whatever he wanted to do. And so, like, he showed me her message, and I'm like, this sounds like a scam. This sounds like a whole freaking scam. I remember them messages where they be like, oh, if you have Navy Federal, I can like deposit some money into your account, or I could flip the money for you. I can't remember. It was some sort of a weird ass scam that was going around back in like 2019. And so I was like, no, babe, like, this is a whole scam. Like, don't give her no information. Like, block her. And he was just like continuing telling me about her little scam or whatever. Was just basically saying like all she really need is for him to have $1,000 plus in his bank account, and she'll basically be able to flip it or something. I can't remember how the story went, but what I do remember is when he came to me. This man came to me out of nowhere later on that day and was just like, babe, I think I fucked up. Y'all, why did he give this girl our Navy Federal login and password? She got into our account, transferred, I want to say it was like $1,000 into her account, or transferred $1,000 somewhere, and took all of our money. That was our last. Y'all, when I say I was livid, I was so calm about the situation. I knew right then and there that was my breaking point. Even though I didn't show him that I was pissed off, I was calm about the situation. I remember this mess like it was yesterday. I said, babe, what did you do? Like, what did you do? And I was like, can I see your phone so I can see your messages so we can report her and block her? I go through the messages and he's having conversations with this girl. Like full-fledged conversations, like they're conversating. He's complimenting her, she's complimenting him. It was like a flirting type of scam. Like, she did that. She did exactly, that's the definition of a good ass scam. She did that. She literally sweet talked this man until she got that username and password, and blocked his ass right after that. I said, oh. Were you like, and then it had me questioning, like, were you talking to her, like trying to get at her, and then she felt the need to like try to get your money because you was telling her you had money, or like what? I really don't really know what could have really happened. I feel like, honestly, from all the conversations that he had before, all the infidelities that he had before, I feel that she was one of the chicks that showed his ass a lesson just for trying to cheat on his wife. Oh yeah, she scammed us for $1,000. Well, basically he gave it to her, $1,000. And right then and there, that's when I felt like I just lost my whole type of, like, I don't know, I just felt like, Lord, this man, this ain't for me. I can't do this no more. I just really felt like he was not for me anymore. So, remind y'all, that was our last little bit of money. And I was trying to figure out ways to where we can, like, get our money back. So we, of course, reported it to the bank or whatever. But that process took so freaking long. Like, I don't even know. Still to this day, I don't know if he got the money back. I don't know. Because basically you gave this person access to your account and transferred the money. Like, it looks as if, like, he transferred the money to her. I don't know how that process even worked for him getting that money back, but yeah. So I'm like, okay, we still gotta eat. We still gotta get by. Like, we still gotta get by. So me being the creative mind, I was like thinking like, damn, what can we do, you know, to get some money? So of course we had to go take out a loan. Of course we ended up signing up for a military credit card. And yeah, we have to do what we have to do because we had a baby on the way. So yeah. So, remind y'all the grandmother is still staying with us. So I go to her and I talk to her about what he did. And, I really don't think she gave a fuck after I'm just sitting here thinking about it. Like, so cool. I figured out a way for us to get some money, to get approved for a credit card, to get approved for a loan before our baby was born. So while the grandmother was staying with us, she would used to, like, basically read to my youngest son and not read to my first son, my oldest son. And or if they're learning or if they're playing around, she would only play with him. And yeah, and then she would, like, belittle my son. Like, he would talk to him like I had to correct her multiple times, like, no, you don't talk to him like that. Like, no. She would literally try to tell me how to parent, how to raise my kids, what I should do, what not to do, what I should spray in my house, what type of scents I should use in my house, and if they come give me something, don't tell them thank you. Like, she had a weird type of parenting, I swear. Like, and I get that she's old school, but and my son had noticed that. Like, he had came to me one time and was just like, why is grandma? And I told him to call her grandma because she's a grandma and that's his grandma. Like, I feel like if you're going to accept one child, you have to accept the other. And if not, then you just can't be around. Like, it just don't work like that. Well, at least not for me, it don't. So, yeah, like, he had came to me and was like, why is grandma, like, why is she not playing with me? And I was just like, okay, so my baby noticed that you are moving different and I'm not going crazy. Like, I see that and he sees that, and I'm sure your grandson, my husband, sees that. So I just had to explain to him, like, I don't know, like, baby, I don't know, but mommy will figure it out. And don't be hurt when they're playing. You could come play with me, or you sit down next to your brother and you play with him. And if she don't play with you, then come tell me. So it had got to the point to where she was trying to talk to me like I was crazy. Y'all, when I say she had a slick ass mouth, she had a slick ass mouth. There was a couple of times she tried to come at me sideways, and I had to tell her, like, I think we're adults. I think we can both respect each other, and, we could talk to each other like adults, There was even times when I had brought it up to my husband about it, and he would not talk to his grandmother about it. Like, he would wait days and days and days later and then talk to her about it, if he even talked to her about it. And even the way that she treated my oldest son, he had only spoken to her that one time that I told y'all. He didn't really like correct her if he saw that he was being left out. My son was being left out when they were playing, or just anything, you know, like she was not a grandmother to my oldest son, but she tried to be a grandma to my youngest son for the time being that she was in my household. So my husband had checked out of his marriage at that point in time. I was now feeling lost, confused, hurt, and also shocked about how he switched up on me within literally a day. So I called his mom and I explained to her the findings that I seen in his phone, and I was just like confused. Like, she seemed like she cared. She was very understanding about what I had told her. She tried to calm me down. She tried to clear things up. She seemed like she was a listening ear, like somebody that I can like really vent to. I cried to this woman about how her son was doing me, about how her son was cheating on me. And so roughly about a week had went by, and I still don't have any money. I still don't have access to our bank. I still don't have I still don't have like no validation that we're gonna work things out or that things are gonna get better. So one day he calls and asks me if I'm home, so that way he can come grab a few things or something. So my oldest son was at school, and he comes over, and my youngest daughter is at home, and I feel like my oldest son probably was there. I just can't really remember where he was at. So he comes and he sees the baby. He holds her, you know, play with her a little bit. And then I asked him, like, you know, you want to go ahead and sit down and talk, like, so we can figure out what's what. This man literally sat there. He played with the baby, and his whole demeanor was off. And I was just like, you know, you ready to talk about things? You ready to hash things out? You ready to come home? Like, you ready? Like, what's up? So I get to talking to him, and I'm just like, are we done? Like, are we really done? And I get to asking him questions like, did you ever really love me? And this man tells me no. No, he never really loved me. No, he don't care. He feel numb to the whole situation. Like, he don't care about anything that we have. The only thing he is focused on right now is the kids, and that's it. He don't care about how I'm feeling. He don't care about if I have any money. He doesn't care about if he just don't care. He'd rather just leave things how they were. I remember I'm sitting there bawling my eyes out, crying to this man, and he just look blank. Like, he looks as if like I'm crazy. Like he's just sitting there looking at me like this. Like he don't give a fuck. So I'm like, damn, I'm really losing my man. Like, I'm really losing my husband. And when I say, like, again, like I told y'all, his whole demeanor was off. He ended up pulling his phone out in the midst of me crying, in the midst of me telling him how I'm feeling, how I'm hurt, how, like, I'm just, like, confused about everything. Like, you know, he pulls his phone out in front of me and started laughing, y'all. He started laughing. And right then and there, I was triggered. Like, I just felt, ooh. I was just so fucking mad. And I'm like, who the fuck are you texting that's so important, that's making you laugh right now? I remember he had the baby in his hand, and I snatched the phone and ran to my car, locked the doors, and went through his motherfucking phone. And guess who he was texting? The woman that I thought would be the least of my worries. The woman that I thought was on my side for once. The woman that I thought that loved her grandchildren. The woman that I thought that wasn't on track with him cheating. Guess who it was, y'all? His mom. They were sitting there, and he was sitting there this whole time with her on the phone, listening to the conversation that me and him was having as husband and wife. I think she disconnected the call and texted him and was just like laughing about how I was crying, laughing about how I'm talking to him, laughing about how the whole situation is, laughing about how your son just did his wife and his motherfucking kids. What the fuck was funny? I don't know. But when I say I cannot stand her or her mama, and I also regret even letting them in my home, getting to know my children. At that point in time, I knew they were all full of shit from the jump. Like, I just knew that them bitches was all fake. I would never in my life be cool with them ever again. Y'all, it gets way deeper than this though. I just couldn't believe it. I just could not believe it. Let me just go ahead and jump right on into the next story, y'all, because I feel like it's dragging at this point. So it had really got to a point to where I was just like annoyed with everything, like everything. I probably was about maybe 8. No, I was probably about 9 months, 8, almost close to 9 months. So I ended up getting into it with his grandmother that night because of some shit that she had said to my son. I can't really remember exactly the whole full-fledged story because I feel like I suppressed so much of that shit. It was just too many events taking place at once. But I ended up putting her out that night. I remember it like it was this day when my husband came in. Me and her were in the midst of arguing. I can't remember exactly what was said, but I let her know that she had to go. Like, I let her know that she's no longer allowed in our house. Ever since she came into our house, it was always something when it came to my children and how differently she treated my children. And I felt like because she felt as if that wasn't her grandchild. And so I let her know that she had to leave that night. Turns out she ended up leaving that morning, which pissed me off because I let him know, like, look, you about to either have to choose, like, what you about to do, because your grandmother, she has a fucked up mouth, and I'm not dealing with it no more. She gotta go. She gotta get up out of here. So she ended up packing herself that night and leaving that morning. So I give birth to my baby girl, and I was just so thankful, like everything went well with my delivery. Perfect delivery. My water broke and we rushed to the hospital. By 7 p.m. that night, she was born. And we get home, and this is in August of 2019. Both of my boys are just so happy to have her home, and we're just, you know, there. And my grandmother, everybody came down to visit. They came to see her. and then they went back. Okay, so when they left, I have found out like he was back cheating. Cheating with this girl in Florida. And you know how you just can tell like when something's off with your man? I was able to tell. Remind y'all, my daughter was maybe about, I'm gonna say like a good month. I'm gonna have to go through the messages because I'm gonna post some of the messages on here too. She was like a good month maybe. I can't really remember, but what I do remember is when I found out he was talking to another woman. So as y'all know, like his whole little energy was off, like he was acting real different. And my kids are in the back seat one day and we were going somewhere and I was just like, you know, what's wrong? You cool? Like, you feel like you want to talk about something? Like, is you okay? And he tells me, like with attitude, nah, queen, like, nah, like he don't want to talk about it or whatever. And I was like, okay, so what's really going on? And then he finally broke down and told me, he was just like, I'm not happy. And I was like, okay, we'll talk about it later because we got the kids in the car. So we ended up talking about it later on. That's the day when I found out he was unhappy. He was texting his girl like, oh, I'm so unhappy. I'm gonna go ahead and let her know that I'm done with her and that we are no longer gonna be together. I was just like, oh my God. Like, you could have told me a long time ago that you was done and I could have left. I could have been left. And so we had low-key had got into a big argument. Like, I just had your daughter, the one that you asked for, the one we prayed for, and you're talking to another woman. So I find out he's cheating. He tells me that he's leaving and that he basically don't want to be with me no more. And I'm just like, okay, like, okay, like, all right, I just had your daughter, but okay, like, so one morning I want to say I went to go get gas. My car declined and I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, I know that there's money there, I think, you know, so let me go ahead and just go home because at this point, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's wrong with my car. I don't know why I can't get into my account. And I'm thinking, oh my God, maybe our account got hacked again or something, you know? So I go home and he's basically home packing his stuff, I believe. Yeah, he was home packing his stuff because he was leaving. By this time, his grandmother had found her a place to stay, and so he was going to move over there because he was done with me. So that happened. He's packing his shit. He's getting ready to go to his grandmother's house, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. I don't got time. I just had a baby. Go ahead and do what you do. Okay, so he packs his shit, and I'm just like, hey, what's going on with the car? Like, I don't know. I was just trying to get gas, and my car declined. He was like, oh, I decided to go ahead and take your name off the bank. I decided to take your name off the bank account, and I will manage the money from here on out. I was like, okay, I see where this is going. Remind y'all, I just had my daughter, and I'm just thinking about this mess. It really, like, oh goodness, hold on y'all. Okay, so I just had my daughter, and he tells me like, oh, I will manage the money from here on out, and basically I took your name off the bank account. And I'm just like, all right, whatever, like, whatever. So I finally gained access back to our joint account with the username and stuff, and I go in the account and there's literally $5. After seeing that he left me with $5 to my name, that literally put me in survival mode. Like 1 month postpartum, having to figure out how you about to be able to get gas, how you about to be able to put food on the table, having to be able to buy Pampers when I need them, like just having to figure all of that out. I instantly thought that he wasn't gonna do for us at all after that. So I'm 1 month postpartum, and I'm having to figure out what I'm about to do. I don't have no money. I was a stay-at-home mom. My husband was basically taking care of us, and he's leaving. He took the money and he left. And when he said he'll manage the money, you know, I didn't think like, you know, my thoughts was, okay, this man just said he didn't want to be with me. He don't want to be with me no more. He wants a divorce. He's unhappy. My thoughts were, he's not going to do anything. He's not going to provide for us. He's leaving me with nothing. And that literally put me in a state of mind to where I had to go out and go get it. So I gave myself a few more weeks to heal up. I ended up getting things situated with my son. I had a friend that was willing to help me babysit my 2 younger kids, which was my daughter, my newborn daughter, and my middle child. So she was willing to babysit them, and my husband at the time was picking up my oldest son, and he would always pick him up after school. Okay, so I finally healed up. I'm finally able to go ahead and go get a job because the holidays are now approaching. My friend was able to watch my kids while I worked. My oldest son, he was at school, and my husband was still picking him up from school at the time. So I get a job. I started work. I'm working for about a week, and I get a call from the school. So I got a missed call from the school. I called the school back. They tell me that my oldest son has not been picked up yet, and if I could please come pick him up. And they asked for a time frame. I was like, hey, what time are you going to be at the school to pick him up? And he was just like, I'm not. He left my son at school knowing damn well I wasn't able to take the time off because you have a probation period when you first get hired on. He left my son while I was trying to work, while I was trying to be able to make money to take care of me and my kids. And not only that, be able to have a Christmas for them. So I go to my supervisor and I talk to her, and I'm just like, hey, you know, I'm in the process of like separating from my husband. We're going through some things right now, and he just left my son at school and I need to go pick him up. And she's like, okay, go get your baby. I cannot believe he did that to him. He has raised my son since he was 2. He was his daddy. He was the father figure that he looked up to. He was the one that raised him. He was the one that taught him things, helped him potty train and do all of this. And you leave him. Like, how could you do him like that? How? This was your son that you left at school. Anything could have happened to him. Anything. While his mom is trying to provide for him because his dad, the one that he looked up to, left him at school. Still to this day, my oldest son don't know what happened. He don't. I picked him up from school and I took him to his best friend's house at the time, and she watched him until I got off work that night, because I had to go back to work to be able to provide for my kids. That right there alone made me hate him, made me want to fucking flip shit upside down and turn the world upside down. Like, how could you do that? And it's crazy because I don't know if y'all remember, but he ended up packing his stuff, leaving to stay at his grandmother's house. And when he moved over there, he was acting so weird. He was sending me all kind of messages. I knew that that wasn't how my husband was talking. It was his grandmother that was telling him to put shit in writing in case he have to take me to court to take my kids from me. His grandmother was in his ear. His grandmother was the ringleader of all the text messages, of all the actions that he basically took upon himself to go through with. And what she don't know is she basically just caused childhood trauma in a way that I never want my kids to ever experience, ever. That is childhood trauma. Leaving your child at school and you not picking them up. Not only that, it's negligence. You neglected him. You left him. You didn't tell me until they called me. So if I would have never got that call, if I would have never called the school back, if I would have never checked my phone, he would have still been there. That would have led CPS to question, where are the parents? Where's the mom? Where's the dad? Why are you still here at school? I wasn't able to get off. So if I would have missed that call, my child would have been there until 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock that night. I really couldn't stand the sight of him after that. So he hit me up one day asking me if he could come by and pick up the kids and not my oldest son. You could just come get, our son, and I'm going to keep my baby girl at home because I'm still breastfeeding. I mean, you could come see her, you could come visit with her, you could come see her if you want, but as of right now, you can only get our son. And yeah, so he basically excluded my oldest son out of everything moving forward. He didn't want to have any ties with him. Yeah, you could come get him for a few hours. And so he finally came to get him. He told me that he'll have him back before like noon. Cool, I can go ahead and do some errands. I can go run some errands, do what I need to do, maybe clean up, get some rest, and by that time he should be bringing him back home. So the whole day go by and I don't have any update. I don't have any calls, no texts. And I hit him up about a couple of times and he didn't answer my phone calls or my text messages. So by 9 o'clock, he ended up, I want to say it probably was around 8, maybe 9. So he calls me. I shouldn't have to answer your phone call when you call me. He is perfectly fine. I'll bring him back when I'm good and ready, basically. And I was like, that wasn't the agreement. Like, we agreed that you would have him back to me by noon. And now I just feel like you're on something weird. I was just like, okay, where you at? So that way I could come pick him up because I'm sure he's ready to come home. He doesn't like being without me. And yeah, so let me come pick up my son. And remind you guys, he's about 3 now. Yeah, I want to say he's about 3. He ended up ignoring me, and I don't know where his grandmother stayed. Remind y'all, I had put her out and he moved out, and she basically had found her another place, and he did not tell me, like his whereabouts and where he was going. Besides that, he was going to take him out for a little bit and bring him back. and possibly go see the grandma. And so I'm just like, I'm calling, I'm texting. I even called her, text her, no answer from neither one of them. So the next morning, which is a Sunday, we usually go to church, and he basically changed up his church to his grandmother's church because, remind you, me and his grandmother had fell out, and so now he's going to church with her because me and him are no longer on good terms. So they're going to church, and he texts me, hey, I'm going to church, can you please stop calling me? I'll let you know when I'm ready to bring him home. And I'm like, no, at this point, no. At this point, I'm ready to come get my son because you're on something weird. And he basically ignored me, and I'm just like, okay, I'm about to come find you because yeah, we ain't doing this no more. Our old church that we used to go to, they're not there. And his grandmother, she's like into like the old school churches with all the hooting, the hollering, the praise and worship, you know, like black folks church. And so I'm just like, okay, it ain't too many black folks, small churches out here in Texas, the area that we are in. So I'm just like, okay, let me go ahead and just drive around. Me and my friend ended up driving around, and we ended up finding the church that he was at, like crazy. We ended up finding the church that he was at. I seen his car, and I get out the car and I go inside the church. By then, service has already started. They're already in praise and worship, and I see him and his grandma like in the front of the church. They didn't hear me come in because, to remind you, it's praise and worship time, and it's a small church. It's a small size church. So I see them. I did not go in. I automatically was like, where's the nursery, you know? So let me go ahead and find the nursery or the kids section because my son wasn't up there with them. So I go find the nursery area for the kids, and I found my son, and I politely signed him out. I got my son and I left. And I got him, I'm asking him, you know, like, how was your night with your dad? You know, what did y'all do, basically? So he, at the time, was not really vocal. He did know how to say certain things and certain words, but basically, I pretty much was the only one, me and my husband and his grandma, was like really the only one that knew, you know, what he was saying when he said it. So he did say something on the lines like, Daddy bought me clothes. So that automatically was a sign. Like, I feel like he was trying to take my kids at that point in time. And I'm just like, these kids have a lot of stuff at home. Like, they're not wanting for anything but my daughter Pampers and wipes, you know, like the small stuff. And so I'm just like, okay, what's really going on? So he sends me a text. Remind y'all, I did not let him know that I got my son from the kids section in the church. I just basically signed him out and I left. And so he texts me, he was like, wow, you really came to the church and signed him out and did not let me know? And he was basically talking mess. And I'm just like, you know what? At this point, you cannot get these kids back. You are not allowed to get them until we have some type of court order established, because at this point, I feel like you're trying to take my kids. And I asked him, I was like, what is your purpose? Like, what are you doing? My kids are perfectly fine at home. Like, they're fine. And I feel like you're trying to take them from me. So after that, after he did what he did, he started sending me like text messages, y'all, like as if like I'm an unfit mother. It was like he was trying to establish a paper trail. And remind y'all, he's staying with his grandmother. His grandmother doesn't like me, and she's the only one basically like with a smart brain, just to try to, well, if she thought it was smart, it wasn't. But she was the one that basically was telling him to put stuff in writing, like try to make things up as if like I'm an unfit mother. The only thing that was not fit was me not being able to work because my husband did what he did. So yes, at that point in time, I wasn't able to provide because he basically stopped picking up my oldest son. And so basically trying to make me out to be an unfit mother, like I'm a bad mom, like I'm the reason why my son's speech is delayed, Like, I'm just like this horrible mom. And I'm just like, oh, child, I take care of you and these kids. I feed you and these kids. I make sure these kids are at school. You know, when it's time for them to be at school, I make sure that everybody's on straight. Like, I'm the one that has some good fucking sense in this house. Probably the only one at this point. So he was really trying to make me out to be like an unfit mom. Okay, so it's time for me to leave because he's doing all kind of weird stuff. He came in, he took our 2 home protection weapons outside of our home, and I'm confused on why, and I'm kind of concerned that he's probably not in his right headspace. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my kids and leave. He was trying to show up at the house all type of weird hours. His grandmother would try to pop up at the house just to try to see if we're there. I had multiple instances when I seen them lurking in the community, and I guess they felt like they wanted to just watch me for whatever weird reason. And so I ended up basically having to quit my job because I didn't have any babysitter for my oldest son or anyone to get him from school. So I was just like, okay, I gotta basically quit my job. So I ended up quitting the job, got the locks changed, and filed the police report. And then after that, I was just like having these crazy thoughts, like, what if he tried to come back to this house? I don't know what's wrong with him. I don't know why he's acting the way he's acting. Why would you come take the home protection weapons from the house and then not tell me, and, you know, just pop up and do what you're doing? It was just strange movement going on at that time. So at that point in time, I felt like it was time for me to leave. I felt like my safety, my kids' safety was at risk, and I just wasn't comfortable being there anymore. I was willing to stay in the house. I was willing to try to see if things could just like run its course, but no, I was ready to go. I was kind of like scared to be there at that point. So I get my last check from work, but I'm still super short. So I reached out to a friend and they loaned me the money so that way I can go ahead and get a U-Haul and pack my stuff and leave. So I had a few friends that was able to come help me, literally come take down all my furniture, help me pack the things that I really wanted, help me basically clear house. And that's exactly what I did. So they helped me pack, they helped me load my truck up. We did all of this during the time frame when I thought he was gonna be at work, because there was no way that I was about to stay in that house and you come and do something to me and I'm not knowing your state of mind. So we pack up everything that's inside the home that I really want. I sold a few things, and so that way I can have some extra money to basically have gas to basically be able to feed me and my kids on the road, because the check that I worked for, it wasn't much. So I had to basically do what I had to do to get by. So I'll let my mom them know like I'm coming back home because of the situation that he put me through, and they're ready for me to come home. So my brother ended up coming down to drive the U-Haul truck back from Texas back to California. And I did not tell him that I was leaving. I didn't feel the need to tell him because of the way that he was doing me. My brother come down, we go ahead and get on the road, and we left. I drove my car back and my brother drove my U-Haul, and me, my dog, and my kids was heading back to California. So during this time, I did not get to really like process everything. It was just like bam, 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 bam. Like everything was just so back to back to back. I didn't have time to think. I didn't have time to really just absorb everything. I didn't really just have the time to just sit there and be like, you know, I didn't really have time to just sit there in my feelings. I felt like it was just time to go. Like, it was like that adrenaline rush where you get when you're put in a situation and you have to get up out of that situation fast. So by the grace of God, thankful for my friends that helped me pack, thankful for my friends that helped me load my U-Haul truck, thankful for my friends that loaned me money and helped me, you know, babysit, helped me get to California. Everybody that helped me during that time, I was just so blessed. I was so thankful, and I literally could not thank them more than what I did. It was like a real support system when I needed them. So I arrived to California. I had looked for a storage unit before I even got there to see, you know, what kind of deals that they had for like first month free until I was able to, you know, get a job to pay for my storage, because I did not have a house. I didn't have nowhere to go but to my aunt's house or to my mom's house. And so I got a storage. They unload, my cousins and my brothers unload my U-Haul truck into the storage, and I went to go stay with my auntie, and yeah, that's when it was go time. Like, I had to go out and go get it. I had prayed to God to see me through the situation, because I'm getting emotional right now just even thinking about it. But I literally had to pray to him to see me through the situation, to give me the strength to be able to go and get a job and not think about my husband. And when I say he got me through this, child, he got me through. Because I don't really remember an emotional bone in my body except for when he told me that he was leaving me, and I found that he was like cheating. I had literally broke down in the shower and cried, and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed, and that was the only time that I can remember crying. No, the next time I had cried was when I was talking to my husband, and he told me that he didn't love me and that basically he felt numb to the whole situation. Out of those 2 times that I had broke down and cried, that was my last time crying throughout this process. So I forgot to mention, when I left, my kids had their Christmas. They did get to see him before we left, but he had no signs that I was leaving because my house was still unpacked. The kids was still like, you know, everything looked normal. Like, he came over, he spent Christmas for a little bit, maybe for like a 30-45 minutes. He saw her, he brought their gifts, and he left. That was his last time seeing the kids before I packed up the whole house and left. So I remember praying to God, praying that I can go out and get a job, because where we're from, it's kind of like hard to like secure a good type of job or a good paying job, and it's very hard. So I went to my old job where I used to work when I first got with him, and they wouldn't hire me back on for nothing. Like, when I first tried to get back on with them years ago, they gave me an interview. They saw that I was a rehire, and the hiring manager was just like, I see you didn't put in a 2-week notice back during this time, but she was like, I believe that you would be, you know, like a good fit for the position, and I believe that you were young at the time when you did not put that 2-week notice in, or when you... She gave me the job, y'all. She gave me the freaking job. And I felt such a freaking huge weight lifted off my shoulders, y'all. I was able to start work. I was able to pay my aunt. Every time I got paid, I paid my aunt some money. Like, she told me that I didn't have to pay anything, but I told her I'm gonna give you some money regardless because you didn't have to let us inside your home. I gave her money every time I got paid. So I couldn't thank God enough because I was just so thankful. I was so blessed that I was able to come out there on that weekend, and that following Monday I went and got me a freaking job. I had a start date. I had hope that I was gonna be able to survive without my husband, because he was the one that was taking care of us. Whew. All right, y'all, so roughly I'm there for about 2 weeks, and he finally noticed that I'm no longer in the house. I had my friend go ahead and put her dogs, I gave my friend access to my house to put her dogs in my garage, to act as if my dog was there. When he came to the house, he'll hear them bark. She had a key to my house to be able to go check on the house and let her dogs out to use the bathroom, and so on and so forth. So he finally came to the house, and he saw that the doors were that the locks were changed, and he blew my phone up like he was blowing my phone up back to back to back. He came in the house, he seen that the house was empty. Only thing I left was just a few things that I knew I wasn't able to like really take. Unnecessary stuff I left. Things that I knew that I wouldn't need, but he probably would have needed, I let him keep. But all the big furniture, the kids' beds, our bed, our furniture that I needed to get by in case I got an apartment, that's what I took. I took all the essentials. Also the pots and pans, I took everything except for his clothes, a little bit that was left, and some of the shit that I really didn't need. So he's blowing my phone up back to back, texting me, why didn't you tell me that you're leaving? I was coming back to get my family. You should have told me. This really hurt me. I wanted my family back. I came to the house to get my slacks, and when I should have known that it was something off. When I talked to you, like, he was just like hurt about the whole situation. So I simply explained to him why I left. I explained to him that from point A to point B, from him cheating, from him leaving my son at school, from him coming to the house, taking the home protection weapon, from him taking the money to where I couldn't survive, to where just all the shit, from when he even tried to leave, when he even tried to take my son and basically didn't want to give him back. I explained to him in a long, detailed message the reason why I up and left without him knowing. So my start date from work, was not until the following month, the next month after I had got there. So I'm still just like, I'm basically still struggling to basically get by. So I, of course, went down to the government office, and I was able to get food stamps and cash aid and Medicaid for me and my 3 children. Okay, so fast forward to the next month. I start work, and my kids are enrolled in school, and I got basically pretty much everything situated. So my husband kept asking me, where are you guys at? What's the address? So that way I know that my kids are okay. Send me the address right now. If you don't send me the address, I'm going to file like a missing person report for my kids. So I never gave him the address. I did let him know, like, we're perfectly fine. I sent him pictures of the kids, and I just basically let him know we're back in Bakersfield. So I have no clue how this man figured out where I was at. So, okay, it's maybe my first few days at work, and I get a text message, a phone call, and like I'm being blown up at work. So I ended up getting like a break or whatever, and I called my mom then back because that's who was calling me, my mom, my brothers, and my grandma. And so I get a call and I call them back and I'm just like, what's going on? They tell me that the police had came to the house. Not the house that I was living in, but came to my mom and my grandma and my brother house. So the police come, they do a wellness check. So they came and they checked the water. They made sure there was food in the refrigerator. They made sure that the kids wasn't like harmed. Basically just making sure that everything was okay with the kids. He called the police. Him and his grandmother called the police and said that we didn't have any lights and that the kids didn't have no food and that they're starving. And like he was just stirring up the fucking pot. Okay. So the police, they actually called me as well, and I talked to him and I let him know, like I had to leave, Texas because me and my husband were in the process of separating. I basically gave them the whole story. Y'all, him and his grandma was basically doing shit to try to get my kids taken away from me. And so when I spoke to the deputy, he was just basically like, yeah, your kids seem perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with the house that you guys are in. Remind you, he don't know that I don't stay there. But regardless, wherever I was at the time was still perfectly fine. Yeah, he was basically, the police was just basically saying like, I could tell that the kids are in an okay environment. Like there's nothing wrong with the area that he's in, that you guys are in. And that, basically he's just going to mark this as, like basically like a wellness check and that there's no signs of anything. The deputy even said like, yeah, this is going to be a messy divorce, a messy situation. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what it's about to turn out to be. And we were talking for a cool little minute and he was just saying, yeah, like, the kids, they're fine. I could tell that you're a fit mother. There's signs of them being hungry or anything like that and that, but clearly the motherfucking lights is on. And that right there, like, ooh, child, when I say, like, I really just wanted to beat him up, his grandma up, and his mama, and whoever else had anything to do with it. I really was just like, I was like shocked that he was even taking shit to this extent. So, all of that happened. I ended up reaching out to him and I let him know, like, you know what? I don't want to have anything to do with you. Like, you're literally putting your kids in situations to get them taken. Like, if these kids are taken, they're going to be put into a facility to where they're really going to be in a messed up situation. Like, why would you want to put your kids in a messed up situation knowing that they're perfectly fine and you're listening to your old wig wearing ass grandma? Like, why? Why would you do that? So I knew right then and there that it was time for me to go down to the court office to, establish like a court order to where we don't have to go through this. So in the state of California, in order for them to establish jurisdiction, you have to be there for about 6 months in order to file any type of court documents, any type of divorce paper, or anything like that. So that whole entire time that I had to sit there and wait, I ended up getting me an apartment 2 months down the line, and I was able to move into a 3-bedroom, brand new apartment that they had just built. I felt a huge weight lifted off of me when I moved in and got my own place, and my grandmother, she ended up moving in with me to help me out on bills. Also during that time, my grandmother did support me majorly with babysitting my kids while I worked and, taking care of home, doing things like my grandma usually do. She cooked, she cleaned, and she made sure everything was good at home. I was just so thankful for her because she didn't even have to do any of that. My grandmother has basically took care of us pretty much for our whole entire life, y'all. Like, so she came in and she did her grandma duties and we were straight. Okay, so I don't know if y'all remember, but I told y'all that my husband ended up buying me a car, and it was a brand new car, and that's the car that I left from Texas in. So I'm now in California for about 4 months, and yeah, probably about 4 months. And so I'm there and I get a text from him asking me, "Hey, have you been paying the car note?" And I was like, "No, like, you had this automatically scheduled to come out of the bank every month, so I assumed that you were going to still be paying on it, cuz yeah, I wasn't paying on it." So the car was in his name, and I assumed that he, was still paying for the car. Now, if you would have told me way when I left, like, look, you got to start paying this car note because I'm no longer going to be doing it, I would have made sure that once I had my job that my car note was taken care of. So he ended up updating the information as far as like the phone number, and I get a call from the repossession people, and I'm just like, wow. They call me and tell me that my car note was $500. It was about $2,000 past due. Um, December, January, February, March, 5, 10, 15. Yeah, it was about $2,000 past due, and they asked me, when am I going to be able to make that payment? And if not, basically, it's going to be repossessed. So I had just moved in to my apartment. I'm still working, but I'm just like, where the fuck? And where am I about to pull $2,000 from? Where? The car note is already the car is already on the repossession list. These people, they have like a tracker in the car, and they're basically already out looking for the car. So I'm just like, where am I about to come up with this money? So I was still going to work. I was just like terrified. Like every day when I come out, I would like check to see if my car's still there. Like, trying to see like where my car at. Hoping that these people have not came to get my car. And I had this gut feeling, y'all. I had this gut feeling, and I'm going to say maybe about 2 weeks go by, and the deadline has come and gone. And my gated apartment, I want to say all the parking spaces were full, including mine. And so I parked my car on the street just until like somebody had left. And so that happened. So me being the working mom that I was so tired that day. And when I woke up the next morning, my car was gone. My car was repossessed, and I had literally no way to get to work. So now I'm carless. I'm using my grandmother's car to get to and from work. So I'm like, okay, my grandmother, she's not going to allow me to keep using her car, even though I know she probably don't mind, but I still need my own car because I got to take my kids to and from the doctor and still be able to go to work. So I was able to save up a couple of checks from work, and I was able to go get a car. My mom ended up getting a car in her name for me because my credit at the time wasn't, what it was really supposed to be, and I needed like a co-signer. So my mom ended up getting a car for me in her name, and I basically paid the down payment for the car, and by the grace of God, I was able to, get a car with a low car payment. And I felt like I was back in the game. The fact that this man tried to break me in every which way he thought would work was just like mind-boggling to me, because why would you want to do your kid's mother like this? Like, your wife, why would you want to do me this way? And I haven't done nothing but be good to you. So during the process of me having to get like a new car, he basically, he stopped paying for the car, and I basically had to get a new car. And so I reached out to him and I was just like, hey, are you planning to help me support the kids in any kind of way? Like, are you going to be able to send me any type of money for the kids? And he basically told me no. He basically gonna say, like, you left our home, and if you would have stayed, I would have taken care of the kids. But you decided to go back to California, and no, he's not going to help. And I was like, okay, all right, you're gonna help me one way or the other, and that's the promise. So after he told me no, that he wasn't going to be able to help me, I found a way to get in contact with his sergeant at the time, and I explained to them, what he had did, and basically our whole situation, or the whole rundown. And so they ended up calling him into the office one day and was just like, what's going on? Why are you not taking care of your kids? You haven't sent your wife any money to provide for the kids, and you get money, you get housing money and food money for these kids that we're giving you for the military. And so he basically got in trouble. When he told me that he wasn't going to help, I was just like, oh, like, you really got me messed up. Like, you asked for me to have another child. We married. And I gave you basically everything you asked for: a family, kids, a happy home. At least I thought it was a happy home. And you mean to tell me you're not about to help with these kids that you asked for? So I was like, yeah, you about to take care of these kids one way or the other. So I started putting my thinking cap on, y'all. I ended up, okay, so as y'all know, I ended up gaining access back to the account that he had took my name off of. And he still had money going in it. I had discovered this maybe like 4 months in of me being in California. And I was just like, oh, you still got money going in this account? I could see that you have money going in this account, and I thought you basically like took my name off of everything. And turns out he just basically took all the money out of the account for the time being and deactivated my card. And so when I seen that, and I seen that he had money in his account, I politely started waiting up at 11 o'clock p.m. to see on every 1st and 15th to see when he got paid. And every time he got paid, I transferred that money to my motherfucking account, because you about to take care of these kids. Okay, so I religiously transferred money into my new account that I had created. Every time he got paid, I was just like sending the money from his account to my account. Sometimes I'll leave him some money in there. Sometimes I won't. Just like, yeah, you really just trying to play me right now with your kids and not trying to help take care of them. Your daughter, she needs Pampers. Your son, he also needs clothes. And your daughter need clothes. And yeah, we not about to do this shit. So I politely sent money back and forth from his account to my account every time I seen a deposit. He finally reached out to me. No, the very first time I did it, he reached out to me and was just like, wow, why are you taking my money from my account? Like, talking shit or whatever. And I'm just like, you told me that you're not helping with your kids. So I'm going to make sure your kids are taken care of. So let me go ahead and get this change that you got in these accounts and go ahead and take care of these kids with. So, I was doing that. I was also helping pay my grandma for babysitting. And I was also, taking care of bills, buying the kids food, things that they really needed. So, I lasted for a good 2 months, and he finally changed his bank. Because I still need this money to be coming in for your kids. You're not seeing them. You haven't asked to see them. You have not been consistent with calling. You have neglected your family. And not on top of that, you basically left us for dead. Well, you ain't about to be a deadbeat over here. So go ahead and run the motherfucking funds. Okay, so he finally changed his bank account. And I went down to the child support office and I simply put him on child support. At first, before I even did all of that, I ran it by him and was just like, so you still not gonna take care of your kids? Oh no, I'm getting way too ahead. Hold on. So, I reached out to the sergeant. That's what happened. And the sergeant made him start sending basically money every month after I started taking the money from his account. And he would send maybe like, I can't remember exactly how much, but his sergeant had a set amount that he would send us every month because we were still married. And yeah, we haven't finalized no divorce. We haven't went through no divorce process. So he's sending the money every month because the sergeant had got onto his ass and he started doing that after that. Okay, so now I'm getting money from him because the sergeant had told him that he had to start sending money. If not, he's going to be demoted. So during this time, y'all, he was not calling his kids. He was not texting his kids. He was not seeing his kids. The kids wanted to see him. Well, not the baby, but his son wanted to call him, text him, and he would barely fucking answer for him. Like, it was just like, he basically just forgot about his whole entire family. Okay, so finally, I was able to go down to the court office. The 6 months has came, and I'm just like, it's time. Okay, so it's time for me to go ahead and file my court paperwork. So I went down there personally to go ahead and file for divorce because what the hell is you waiting on? It's dragging at this point. I'm no longer wanting to be with you. I'm done with you. The way you treated me has been horrible. So I filed my paperwork, y'all. I filed for full custody and also to give him visitations. The whole process itself took me roughly about, I want to say like 4 months, and I was able to get him served. So while during this process, I had to figure out a way to get him served. He had ended up moving from El Paso, Texas to Kansas at the time. And a friend of mine had reached out to me one day and was just like, hey girl, she was like, are you and your husband still together? And I was just like, no. And she told me, she was like, okay, I seen a woman over here at his house and I'm in Kansas. She was like, girl, we moved to Kansas. They transferred us to Kansas. I was like, oh, okay. So she stayed giving me the tea, y'all. She stayed telling me like, there was this dark-skinned chubby girl, and she knew it wasn't me. She was just like, it was this dark-skinned chubby girl that came over to his home, and I seen her multiple times, and she was like, I felt the need to reach out to you and tell you. So as y'all know, I found my divorce paperwork. So I'm like, okay, cool. I trust her. We was friends for a long time. We used to throw like passion parties for the military wives when I had started my all-girls club. And so she would just like give me all the tea. And I'm just like, girl, I may need you. I'm going to have to pay you to serve him because I'm filing for my divorce. She was just like, girl, that is no problem. Like, we literally stayed right across the street from each other. He stays on one side and I stay on the other side, but he hasn't seen me. So I finally got the paperwork for her to serve him. I first classed it over to her and she tried serving him twice. And the second time was a success. He just couldn't believe his eyes. Like, how the fuck you out here? How the fuck you know where I stay? So she served him and he had his first court date. He had a lawyer, but his lawyer was a shitty ass lawyer back in Texas from what I found out. And there was no motion or anything, going through with him. So he basically missed his deadline to attend our hearing. That was the first step. They tried to reschedule a second time. He didn't make it. The third time, they went ahead and filed motion and they took it upon themselves to go ahead and finalize the divorce as well as the full custody paperwork. Okay, so now we're divorced. Now I'm just like so happy that I really took this step to go ahead and, do what I needed to do. And one day he reaches out to me I'm like, like, what does he want? And we had like this deep conversation. We basically apologized to each other for all the wrongdoings, and we said our differences, and we came to common grounds. And I felt like, okay, we're going to be able to co-parent. So, in these text messages, we did flirt around. We talked about a few things, and it was just like, for whatever reason, we got on the topic of me coming to Kansas. And I want to say this is probably maybe 8 months, 9 months after our divorce. And he asked me to basically come to Kansas. And so he sent me, I don't even know why I even went, y'all. I don't even know why I'm telling y'all this. But he ended up sending me money to book a flight. And I went out there for a few days. And it was basically like he wanted me back. Like, he was so sorry about all the things that he did, all the wrongdoing. And I was just like very forgiving. And I was just like, okay, maybe I should just go out there and hear him out. We could talk it out, and I could really just get his side of the story of everything. So, like, I had so many questions that I needed answered. I wanted, like, more closure on every fucking thing, because I needed to get down to the bottom of it. Like, if you planning on wanting your family back, if you planning on trying to get me back, I need to know. I need my questions answered. I need you to make sense of every fucking thing that you did and why you did it. I need to fucking know. And before y'all start bashing me, a lot of women has been in this situation with their husband, and sometimes it don't even be y'all husband that y'all be going back and forth with. And I'm not knocking anybody, but I always say it to myself, I never know what I'll do in a situation unless I was put in it. But let's get back on subject, y'all. And of course, my dumb ass went out there and we made up. And I'm just like, oh my God, like, I'm a single mom. Like, I'm doing all of this stuff by myself. I'm raising these kids by myself, and these kids need their daddy. And I feel like my son, he's going to need his father in his life. And so when I went out there, I wanted to go out there for closure. So I went out to Kansas and we hashed things out. We talked about it. We even talked about all the wrongdoings. We talked about even the woman that my friend had told me that she's seen at his place in Kansas. And come to find out, it was a girl from our hometown. And it's crazy because this girl was so happy to see us together. She congratulated us on our marriage when we first got together. She congratulated us on our kids that we had. And this girl was sleeping with my husband. Okay? She was sleeping with my husband, y'all. And even though we were separated, I needed freaking answers. Even though we said that we were done with each other, I needed answers. I needed closure on every fucking thing. So we made up. We talked about us being in the household together again, and eventually us moving from back to California, back with him to his duty station in Kansas. So I keep saying, y'all, I really wanted closure with this man because I wanted to make sure that I was fully done with him. And so he gave me the story behind the girl that he had at his house, or sleeping around with at his house in Kansas. And he did say that they are still friends. That was automatically a red flag. So when he told me that they were still friends and they did still communicate, that was one red flag. So, okay, we made up. I went home, back to California. Y'all, when I got back to California, I did a lot of thinking. I really just thought about a lot of stuff. And I did not talk to him for roughly about 2 weeks. All right, so I go ghost on him for 2 weeks. And he's blowing me up, calling, texting, asking me, is everything okay? Did I change my mind about wanting to be with him? Checking on the kids, of course. And I got on the girl's page that he was sleeping around with, and I was seeing like posts about him, and I was so confused. And she had posted something. I can't remember exactly what exactly happened for me to figure this stuff out, but Christmas had came, I guess, and I guess she had bought him some gifts and sent them to him, and he kept them. And I confronted him about it, and I'm just like, you know, we are supposed to be working on rebuilding our family, our household. And I was like, I feel like you should have never accepted those gifts that she bought you. And he first lied about her not buying him gifts, and then he told me the truth. And I was like, okay, I appreciate you telling me the truth, but throw that shit in the trash, because if you planning on getting your family back, what the fuck do you need with them gifts? So I reached out to her, basically woman to woman. It wasn't like to disrespect her or anything. And I told her, like, I would appreciate if you know, not get him any gifts, because we are currently trying to work on us again. And it was like, she gave me a whole complete attitude. And I don't know what's up with these Bakersfield girls. But yeah, she gave me a whole freaking attitude. And I was just like, yeah, no, I'm not willing to deal with this. I'm not willing to go through this shit. And so, come to find out, I told him to throw the gifts in the trash. He was on FaceTime with me when he threw the gifts in the trash. Come to find out, a couple of weeks go by, and the gifts that she bought him was like a shirt and a few other things. And the shirt that she bought him for Christmas, he posted on Facebook in that shirt. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm really done at this point. Like, I'm not going back. I'm not doing this shit with you, because I know my worth. And now I'm seeing this is the sign that God has given me, that we are no longer going to be able to be together. So that was my closure. After that, I was done. I never went back after that. I was just like, you know what? I needed closure. And I'm going to let you have this girl, and y'all can go ahead and figure things out. And I'm going to just go ahead and continue to do me. So that was the ending of all of that. We then started working on getting, establishing a better co-parenting relationship. And I felt like we were kind of on track in a way, but it was always something off with his parenting. So, we ended up getting into it, make a long story short, and we're divorced. So now that means that the spousal support or the payments that he was sending from the military had stopped. And he wasn't trying to send me any money, of course. So I just took it upon myself and put him on child support after that, because these kids still need to be taken care of, y'all. So he didn't ask to see his kids or like be around them. It was probably like once that he asked, and he ended up coming down to California with his mom a little after we had got divorced. And yeah, he ended up seeing the kids. And so that was the only time. And then he would rarely call, and you know, he ended up getting deployed. Boom, he gets deployed, and I always checked on him just to be sure that he was fine. You know, communicated with him from time to time when he was able to have his phone. And I also let the kids talk to him. I sent him pictures, and I did everything as I should as a co-parenting relationship. He was deployed for maybe about 1.5 years, I think, something like that. And so we talked on and off. I made sure that everything was good out there, because that was a time when Poland was into it with it was during like a war season or whatever. But the Russians in Germany was into it or something. But yeah, we were able to get, like, we're building up our relationship as co-parents, and he gets orders to get ready to go back to the United States. All right, y'all, so we're almost done with the series. My next series is gonna be life after divorce and what I had to go through as a single mother at that point. Also, it's going to entail finding love on both my end and his end, and basically all the trials and the disrespect that I had to go through. And yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and get to it. Again, this series is not to disrespect anyone. This series ain't to hurt anybody's feelings. It's not to drag anybody in the mud. It's just strictly my story. And if y'all don't like it, y'all can go. Bye.